Welcome to the Software Process and Measurement Cast number 596. I'm Tom Cagley, your host. Today, we feature our interview with Tom Henricksen. Tom brings the industry the DevOps and Agile Online Summits and is an active thought leader in the Agile community. We talked about how events like his summits foster learning and sharpening the saw. Tom suggests that tuning your skills and capabilities has never been more important as the economy struggles to get going again. Are you ready to talk building skills and capabilities? It's time for the interview. Tom Henricksen, welcome to the Software Process and Measurement Cast.
Thanks for having me, Tom.
Tom, it is always good to talk, and you and I have chatted a number of times over the years. You're coming up on the second DevOps Online Summit this year, and you're doing it in a time frame where things are, at best, let's call them weird, scary, suddenly remote, any of the words. How do you think that whether it's the Agile Online Summit, the DevOps Online Summit, how do you think those actually work and help people, especially in such a crazy time?
Well, I think, as you mentioned, Tom, we're throwing a lot of people into remote work. And I think this type of conference is perfect for that, because on the DevOps Online Summit, we have people who are going to talk obviously about DevOps, but we have some people with some remote experience as well. I want to tell you about one individual. His name is Darren Murph, and he's actually the head of remote for a company called GitLab. And if you're familiar with GitLab, you might know they're the largest remote-only company in the world. They have 1,200 people, and his talk alone, I think, is going to be a great talk where he's going to talk a little bit about that, about how they do that, and how they have this company that serves the DevOps community, and they do it remotely. So I think this is very timely. And as you mentioned, Tom, with the things going on, this will be a good talk to tune in.
So, Tom, how do people consume this? And obviously, this isn't a promo. We've done things like that before. But how do people actually consume this kind of content in a summit format? And it's across multiple days.
Yes. Yeah. So the summit runs from April 20th through the 24th. So Monday through Friday. So what you do is you sign up. We have free general admission. You can get access to this great content for the week. And we'll share the content as it goes through the week. We have many live sessions as well. We have what's called an Ask Me Anything session, where you can jump on a Zoom call with some of these DevOps professionals and get answers to your questions. Maybe your company has a different wrinkle that they're running into, an issue, a challenge. You can talk to these DevOps professionals and get answers from them. And I like just to kind of hang out. I kind of usually moderate the chat and really enjoy the conversation. And I learned a lot myself. And to be honest, Tom, that's why I do things like the DevOps Online Summit and the Agile Online Summit, is because I like to learn. I enjoy learning, and I also enjoy that the community that has been kind of fostered around this, and how willing all these great professionals are to share their expertise. So essentially, people like you and me can learn from them and really kind of help our own companies and help the companies we serve.
The whole idea of the Ask Me Anything, when you first started these kinds of things, that wasn't part of the format. Adding things like that to these online summits, do you think it adds, obviously people come to hear the conversations, but do you think by adding the live bit that it really makes it more of a conference?
Yeah, I think, like you mentioned, we didn't always have the Ask Me Anythings. We've added those. Those are something I think that's been very popular. So we do schedule those at a certain time, and then we'll have people jump on. And then, of course, we have people from all over the world. So we do post those recordings. Another thing that we've added through the years is we have Slack channels for these conversations. And so we have the conversation kind of continues on Slack. A lot of the DevOps professionals, the thought leaders will jump on Slack too to answer questions that come up, because as we bring up different people who come from different areas, they're in different time zones, as well. So we have people from Europe, we have people from Asia, we have people, really from all over, from North and South America. So it's, kind of nice to have, as you mentioned, the Ask Me Anythings and the Slack channels where it can kind of foster that real conference feel. So there's kind of that, conversation where somebody can continue it, because, sometimes you'll be at a real conference and somebody will want to talk. And I've been in both sides of this. I've been one asking questions where the person's like, I got to go. And then also too, where if you're the speaker, you want to go on too, but that Slack channel gives that ability to, continue that conversation later on.
Sort of the hallway or lunch conversation that really makes it sort of intimate and spontaneous. Over the years, doing or creating content, I think, generally changes somebody. What is it that you think from the DevOps Online Summit, Agile Online Summit, what is it that has changed you the most over the years doing this?
I think, as I kind of mentioned a little bit before, how willing people are to share and how I've tried to help, people along the way and share as much as I can. This has kind of helped me along my journey as I've learned more about different things, different aspects of, be it DevOps or the Agile movement, and really kind of help me in my journey and help others. Because as you mentioned, Tom, we have different aspects to this. We also do some coaching too. We've have a 6-week coaching session where we do with the DevOps Online Summit. So that's where we'll have some of these experts jump on and where people can kind of dig a little deeper. I find that be a good conversation because you get people together like that in these coaching calls. And it can be one of these things. And every time I do one of these, like these DevOps professionals will say the same thing almost every time, that they learn something as well from the questions people ask and kind of understand a little differently, some of the struggles people have. So I think it's really important.
What's the most extraordinary thing that you've learned, at least technically, over the years through these?
Technically, I would say one of the things in the DevOps space is Kubernetes. It's become very big. And I've learned a lot. We have a few speakers this year that are going to talk about Kubernetes. And I've learned a lot about that and how important that can be to a DevOps movement. Also, too, just kind of a non-technical thing is really how important culture is. Be it in DevOps or in an agility movement, that culture is so important. A lot of times, and I'm a developer by training, so I will, if given, my devices, I will choose technologies and think, oh, the neat, shiny new thing. But it keeps coming back to how important that mindset is, and culturally, you have to have, bring people along because change is hard. And that, Tom, I know with your work, you work with companies. That's one of those things where, just to get an organization to change can be a difficult journey.
I'd like to get your perspective on something that I've been ruminating on for a while. Which comes first, behavior or culture?
That's a good question. Now, I've read a lot about this, and I see people, like different experts will go in different ways. I don't know if you're familiar. There's a podcast called Manager Tools that I've listened to for a while, and they talk a lot how culture doesn't really matter, and that culture essentially is the behaviors you allow in an organization. So I think I've heard a couple people actually say, culture can be, people will say, oh, it's the vibe in the office, or it's the temperature of the room, or things like that. I think for me, they kind of come together in a sense that behaviors and what you allow is so important. Because I remember, this is early in my career, I remember there was a developer who was really, somebody that a lot of people looked up to. And this person would treat people in a way that, I would never want anyone to treat somebody like. And to me, that was one of those things, kind of like what they say in Manager Tools, kind of what you allow. I saw some leaders allow something in an organization that really kind of shifted me and made me think where I need to go and need to be. And I think that's one of the things is, what we allow is so important in our organizations. And plus, as John Wooden would say, our example is our biggest leadership tool. And I think that's true too, as how we act is so important. And I've been guilty of it myself, where I've acted in a way that wasn't professional. And that's one of the things I think that can reflect the culture of an organization too. So the leaders have to think about those things.
Why don't you give us the 3-minute pitch on why it would be important to go to the DevOps Online Summit?
Excellent. Well, as I mentioned, it's running from April 20th through the 24th, and we have a lot of great speakers. And I think, as I mentioned, those Ask Me Anythings will really, are important to jump in and get people involved to help bring your own questions. But we have a lot of great leaders, a lot of great authors in this space. So if you're familiar with the book Continuous Delivery, we have Dave Fowler, who worked with Jez Humble to create that book. So we have a lot of people. Gary Groover is also a big DevOps author who's going to be part of it. Helen Beal, who is a DevOps specialist, and she works a lot with the DevOps Institute, and works all over the world. She's based in the UK, but she is a great one. And then, as I mentioned, like Kubernetes, we have some people talking about that. One in particular, Jonathan Johnson, who is going to give you a really good perspective about Kubernetes. I think there's a lot of great conversations. We have people, Romnick, another guy from the Philippines, who's going to talk to us a little bit about some things. He is a great person. We have a lot of great people. I'm actually in the process of finishing the schedule right now, so there'll probably be even more people adding. I'm having lots of conversations with people, so it's going to turn out to be a great summit, and I hope you can be part.
And you're not going to have to cancel it because people can't get there unless they take the internet away.
Let's hope not, Tom.
Okay. So once again, what's the URL for that?
The URL is devopsonlinesummit.com/2020.
And if people wanted to continue the conversation with you beforehand, get a hold of you, how would they find you on the internet?
The best way to get a hold of me is to email me at tom@myitcareercoach.com. I'm also on LinkedIn and Twitter. I can be found there as well, but easiest just to send me an email if you have any questions about the summit or anything I can do.
Tom, as always, I am looking forward to this event. I'm looking forward to future events, and it's always interesting and engaging to have a chat.
Great to be with you, Tom. Thanks for having me.
In Reread Saturday News, this week we tackle Chapter 8 of Crucial Conversations, Tools for Talking When Stakes Are High, 2nd edition. Arguably, the feel of this reread to date has been a bit of a book report feel. Since this is the first read of the book for me, consuming what I have read has tended to be a reflection of my thought process, internalizing the concepts. We have approximately 3 weeks left. Do you have ideas for the next book? Chapter 8 builds on Chapter 5's message of establishing safety during a dialogue by adding a new step, exploring the other's path of action. A quote that hooked me on the chapter was, "You will never work through your differences until all parties freely add to the pool of meaning," end quote. If you do not have a copy of Crucial Conversations or have tossed it at somebody during a crucial conversation, it's time to buy a copy. Link in the show notes. Buying a copy using the link in the show notes helps support the podcast and the blog. Remember, we have 2 upcoming events. The first is the DevOps Online Summit, Tom Henricksen fame, which is April 20th. That's Monday, April 20th through Friday, April 24th. Registration, link in the show notes. IdeaFest is also this week. I'm speaking at IdeaFest. It is April 21st and 22nd. Registration, link in the show notes also. I'm looking forward to running into you in the common areas on both of those. There are promos out on the podcast feed. Feel free to go and check those out. In the Software Process and Measurement Cast number 597, we will feature a special panel of practitioners and experts to discuss working from home now and after the initial reaction to COVID-19 wears off. The panel was comprised of Paul LeBerge, Susan Parente, John Voris, Joanne Sweeney. Lots of really good information and ideas about how to stay sane when initially working from home, and then drawing that out because we're probably never going to go back to the days of packed offices. Well, maybe not. If process improvement is a never-ending journey, why do so many people ask, are we there yet?